The general perception of the Parthenon is that of a temple dedicated to the goddess Athena, Parthenos, which translates to Athena the Virgin. The epithet of Parthenos, meaning virgin, hints at the etymology of Parthenon, which many believe means temple of the virgin goddess. It's incredibly important to note that worship of Greco-Roman gods and goddesses required the presence of an epithet. In other words, one didn't simply worship Athena, one worshipped Athena Parthenos, or Athena Promachos, or Athena Polius. One didn't worship Zeus, but Zeus Olympus, or Zeus Teleos. Although at some point in history the statue of Athena that stood within the Parthenon picked up the epithet of Parthenos, evidence suggests that this was not originally the case. Early ancient authors do not attribute a cult to the statue of Athena that stood in the Parthenon, nor did the statue appear to carry the epithet of Parthenos at first. In fact, and this is really going to be surprising to the listener, the early Greeks did not appear to even refer to the Parthenon as the Parthenon, but rather as the Hecatompeidon, or the Great Temple. It wasn't until the 4th century BCE, approximately 80 years following the completion of the Parthenon, that we see the earliest references to the word Parthenon. Even as late as the 1st century BCE, the Greek philosopher Plutarch was referring to the building as the Hecatompeidon, or a combination name of Hecatompeidon Parthenon. So what is it that I'm trying to say here? Although the Parthenon is architecturally a temple and is usually called so, some scholars have argued that it is not really a temple in the conventional sense of the word. Early ancient sources do not associate it with any priest or priestesses, or initially with a cult name. In other words, it was a temple in name only. Athenians probably didn't climb the Acropolis to pray and sacrifice at the Parthenon. Worship and offerings were actually reserved for the wooden cultic statue of Athena Polius, which resided in the building now known as the Erechtheum, which lies north of the Parthenon. I'll let the watcher contemplate this statement a bit more, since it seems so utterly in contradiction to the popular image of this building. The Parthenon was not originally called the Parthenon. The statue of Athena inside the Parthenon did not originally have the epithet of Parthenos. Without an epithet, it was not originally, if ever, part of a cult practice, and therefore did not have attendant priests or priestesses. No sacrificial altar has been located at the Parthenon or referred to in writing. Athenians most likely did not climb the Acropolis to worship at the Parthenon, housing Athena Parthenos. Athenians did climb the Acropolis to worship at the Erechtheum, which housed the wooden cultic image of Athena Polius, which was part of a cult practice. So you're probably wondering, if the Parthenon wasn't a temple, then what was its purpose? To answer this, we have to go back to 480 BCE, when Athens, including everything on the Acropolis, was destroyed by the Persian king Xerxes I during the Second Persian invasion of Greece. Despite the destruction of Athens, the unified Greek city-states won stunning victories at the Battle of Salamis and the Battle of Plataea, which ultimately led to their victory in the war. This is a pivotal moment for the Greeks, as this marked the start of the great classical period that would extend to the death of Alexander the Great. Art, science, philosophy, governance prospered immensely when compared to the prior archaic age. The Parthenon was constructed in part to commemorate the Greek victory against the Persians. It also served as a treasury and likely a vanity project for the hugely influential statesman Pericles, sometimes honored with the title the first citizen of Athens. Pericles is hugely important to the Parthenon, as we shall see later. Following the naval victory over the Persians at the Battle of Salamis, primarily due to the Athenian navy, a military alliance called the Delian League was formed in 478 BCE. This consisted of Athens, along with many smaller Greek city-states in the Aegean and in Asia Minor, which is the western coast of modern-day Turkey. forming a military alliance with the Athenians must have seemed natural to the far smaller Greek city-states. After all, the Athenians had arguably the strongest navy in the entire Mediterranean after Salamis, and an alliance with them would be a great deterrent to any future Persian aggression. The various states were in theory allowed to provide ships and sailors to this military alliance. However, this was replaced with a monetary payment to support the Athenian navy. This may have initially made sense to these smaller Greek states, as they may have found a financial contribution to the Athenian navy far cheaper than maintaining their own naval force. Representatives of all member states, theoretically each with an equal vote, met annually on the island of Delos, where the league's treasury was kept in the Temple of Apollo. Although it was supposed to be a meeting of equal member states, it was clear that Athens was in charge. So it should be of no surprise that Pericles, the so-called first citizen of Athens, unilaterally moved the treasury from Delos to Athens in 454 BCE. This finally brings us back to the Parthenon, since its construction was funded by the Delian League's money and later served as a treasury for it. By the time the treasury had been moved by Pericles, the Delian League had morphed into an undeclared Athenian naval empire, much to the dismay of its many members. The constituent city-states were probably quite unhappy that their now tribute to the Athenians, which originally had been a financial payment for military obligations under the Delian League, was diverted to the construction of the Parthenon, the Erechtheum, the Temple of Athena Nike, the Temple of Poseidon at Sunion, and the Temple of Hephaestus. Little would they know that the Athenian theft of the treasury and the transformation of the Delian League to an Athenian empire allowed for the construction of the Parthenon, bringing enjoyment to countless millions of tourists millennia later. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos on the Acropolis.